Well, welcome back, grubbers. Hope this fine day finds you well. It's the new year, and I got inspiration just yesterday to do something I haven't done in a while. And I don't really know why, other than it's this low keto thing that I've been messing with. I think it's good, actually. So I don't eat a ton of sandwiches like I used to. I used to eat probably 3 a day. Yeah, it was not advised for a normal, healthy diet. But anyway, the inspiration came from a small trip my daughter and her very new husband of 1 month, terrific guy, were returning from a small holiday in Mexico. They went to Cancun. And anyway, that's not the point of the story, really. On the way back, they got stranded. Well, they got stuck in Miami, of all places. Something wrong with the plane, or so the flight was canceled, so they got stuck overnight. So the next day, they had all this time to kill before they went to the airport. So what did they do? Well, they did what I would do, what most people would do when stranded in Miami. They went over to Calayocho, and they had a sandwich Cubano. And I'll tell you, it's one of the great sandwiches. One of the great sandwiches. So it inspired me to do for the grubbing fans and my own stomach a sandwich Cubano in the garage, of course. So I've got the grill heated up, and I'll show you our ingredients and we'll get started. But before that, I do want to point out that this is going to be an authentic sandwich Cubano. And there's many Cuban sandwiches on menus all over the country that, believe me, they're not Cuban sandwiches. You don't put ranch dressing or Thousand Island dressing on a Cuban sandwich. You don't put onions on a Cuban sandwich. You don't have, not have roast pork, or forget the ham, or maybe American cheese. Anyway, this is going to be authentic and in keeping with our mandate for no more than 5 ingredients, unless it's absolutely necessary and the recipe absolutely requires it. This recipe, our Cubano, does have 6, so you got to give us that. In any event, we'll look at the ingredients here. We'll fire up the grill. It's already fired up, and make a sandwich Cubana el Authentica. So in the interest of time, and I know you all are very busy, yeah, and I'm busy too, I've already prepped the ingredients. I'm very organized today. And here are the 6. We have Cuban bread, and you really have to have Cuban bread. So if you think you're gonna make an authentic sandwich Cubano on some kind of hoagie roll, forget about it. You can do it, but it's not the real thing. Cuban bread has a very interesting, special texture. It's very light and fluffy inside, and it's got kind of a chewy crust. And most importantly, because this is a pressed sandwich, another critical component of sandwich Cubano, because it's gonna be pressed, this bread really yields beautifully to a press. It flattens. And any authentic sandwich Cubano that you ever see will be flattened. It's very thin, it's not thick, okay? So, gotta get Cuban bread. You get a lot of places. Yellow mustard, and I mean yellow mustard. We don't do Dijon, we don't do brown. We don't do stone ground. We do yellow only. Don't use yellow mustard. It's not authentic. Swiss cheese. Swiss cheese. Do not substitute your cheese. Always Swiss. Ham. Now this ham is beautiful stuff. It's called Serrano ham, and it's Spanish ham. Most delis have it. It's raised naturally. It's naturally cured. There's no nitrates. It is probably the healthiest ham you can get, and it's just regular. It's not honey. It's not smoked. It's just basically roasted ham. So you've got to get ham. I've got a couple slices. And then this is beautiful leftover roasted pork. It's roasted pork loin with pepper and garlic. It's excellent. It's going to go beautifully on the sandwich. And of course, sliced dill pickles. Not sweet pickles, not jerkin pickles, sliced dill pickles. Now notice the combination of ingredients here. It's critical that in anything great that we turn out of our garage, that we have balance. And I'm just estimating the amounts of each thing here, of each ingredient, but I think this basic balance is going to come out beautifully. It's going to marry in a wonderful way. Don't load it up on ham. Don't load it up on too much cheese. You know, we probably won't use all these pickles. We'll see how it lays out when we develop it. Don't slather, you know, buckets of mustard on. Okay, and that's what we're going to start with, and we'll get to assembly soon, and then we're going to throw it on the grill. I've got the kind that I flipped. It was flat when we made our egg McMuffins and we made our smush burgers, but I flipped it to get the ridges in there, and that's going to give you a nice texture, a nice grill marks on the bread. It's just athletics, whatever. You certainly don't need a griddle. You don't have to do this on the grill like I'm doing it. You can do it on the hot plate in a pan. Works great. No difference. You just need a good, heavy, hot surface. Now, a couple things to notice. This is the Cuban bread, and you can see, I think, how, let me get the angle here. You see how soft it is? And it's very soft and fluffy Cuban bread. So that adds a very unique characteristic to the sandwich, and that's why it's so important not to just get an old, you know, hoagie roll. So I'm going to cut off a slice here. I don't know, 5 or 6 inches. I'm just guessing, and it's pretty tricky because it's so soft. So don't smash it. Use a very sharp knife, and so I had to break down and sneak one out of the kitchen. Don't tell dear wifey. Okay, so we got some bread. Now we got to slice it down the side, and this is, move over you guys. This is a little tricky. The same. It's also tricky because it's so darn soft. So I'm going down this way and promptly mauling the bread. I think we got it here. Let's keep going. It'll be okay. Look, that looked really bad, that technique, but basically it's hollow anyway, so that's why I was having a bit of a problem. This is going to be really good though, so do not despair. So now what we're going to do is assemble. Very simple. So, well, I got an itchy finger, so I'm going to start with a ham, I think on the bottom here. Come here, Serrano. Okay, a little ham. And I'll go with our roast pork now. Just make a nice layer there. And try to, you know, do it somewhat evenly. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Now we coming along. Let's slide this over, get a little better angle. And don't worry about the looseness of the bread. It's all going to come together because it's going to be basically glued by the Swiss cheese. Okay, so let's take our Swiss cheese, put it up here. Okay, and then we're going to do some pickles. Let's see. Yeah, just, you know, go nuts on the pickles. I think that's That's about right. Okay. Now I'm going to put a little salt and pepper on it. These don't count as ingredients. As grubbers know, we don't include these. A little salt. They're really not ingredients. They're spices. It's a difference. Plenty of pepper here. Okay. Almost there. Finally, a little mustard. Don't forget to shake the mustard. Really shake it, because otherwise you just get vinegar. And I always test it to make sure that I'm not getting vinegar. Why isn't it coming out? What the heck is going on with this? Hang on a second. Let me get one of my poking wires. Ah, see what happens? It dries out over time. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so yellow mustard. How much? About that much. Don't overdo it. Don't be too shy. And now we just put the lid on it. Okay, and we just put the lid on it. So now basically we have a Cuban that's ready to go on what I hope, get some of that leftover pork. What I hope is a hot grill. So I'll be back in a second and we'll see how we're doing. Okay, our grill is warm. You don't want it super hot because the sandwich needs to cook and the cheese needs to melt a bit before it browns. And you don't want the crust to be too crispy, or then when you eat it, it cuts the roof of your mouth. You know, that whole thing. So here's our sandwich. We've got the press here. I'm just gonna put it on, okay? And I'm not gonna smash it, okay? I'm not gonna smash it, but I'm gonna push just a bit, okay? Now I've had sandwich Cubanos that were like pancakes, and I think that's a bit much. So we're just gonna give that a few minutes. I seasoned the grill a little bit with some spray oil, of course, and we'll just let it sit there for several minutes. We'll check it in a few, and once you see mustard grill marks, we'll flip it, and we'll come back. Now I slipped in here with my spatula when you weren't looking, and I'm going to turn it and put my press back on the top here, and I'm guessing all in, you give it 5 to 8 minutes on the grill. Give a little bit of press, not too much, you want to smash it. And we'll revisit this sandwich Cubano El Authentica in a couple minutes. So I've flipped it back. I can feel the surface is kind of crispy and shiny. And so we're gonna move this over to the cutting board. Let's go cut it and see how we did. Okay, there we have it. It looks nice. So let's give it a cut here. And the other thing you have to do now with sandwich Cubano, you don't cut it like that. You don't cut it like that. You have to cut it on the bias, okay, on the angle. So that's what we're gonna do. Hear that crunch? That crunch is very important, because that's the texture that you're looking for. And there we have an authentic sandwich Cubano. And in a moment, I'm gonna take a big bite of that and see how we did. Okay. I'm back, hungry. It's hard to make one of these without stirring an appetite. So it should be flat. Surface should be shiny. Oh, my buddy, let's give it a shot. Oh. Come on. You must be kidding. I'm gonna spoil my dinner. That's it.
Gotta have the blend and the balance of those ingredients. You get it right, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Rubbers, thank you for joining. That was fun. It was quick. Get out there in the garage, get your machines going, get some real Cuban bread, handful of ingredients, and cook yourself up a sandwich Cubano Authentica. Thanks, we'll see you again soon. Adios.